This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
There we go.
There you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Janet Kane, the chair of the Senior Center, the co-chair of this ad hoc Senior Center Feasibility Committee. This is Monday, July 8th meeting. We are being recorded.
July what?
July 18th. What did I say?
8th.
Okay, July 18th at 12:30, and this meeting is being recorded. So we'll call the meeting to order at 12:34. Okay, open time for the public. We have no one visiting us from outside the committee.
First of all, that you have a quorum and that you have one member and his name that is
Okay.
remote participating due to distance.
Okay, so we have a quorum at the meeting, and we have one participant, our co-chair, Andrew LaFosse, who is remotely participating due to distance. Thank you. All right. Approval of minutes. We had 2 minutes, one from our meeting and then one from the select board meeting, right?
I believe that one's already been approved.
Okay, the select board meeting was, are they both
Last
approved?
time.
So, okay,
Yeah, no, the 22nd needs to get approved.
okay. Minutes from June 22nd.
Yep.
Does anybody have a motion to approve? Hello?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of
Okay.
June 22nd.
We have a motion by Libby. Anybody have a second?
Second.
Darcy, second. Any discussion?
I've got a copy if anybody wants to read it.
I read it
I
before.
don't think I can even vote on it because I wasn't at that meeting.
wasn't.
Okay,
I was there.
any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
It's got to be a roll call vote because of the
We
remote
have the yes,
participation.
you told me that, I'm going through it. Okay, all in favor. Andrew,
Aye.
Libby,
Aye.
Audrey,
Aye.
Darcy,
Aye.
Ron,
I wasn't at the meeting.
Janet, aye. So, motion to approve, thank you. All right, so we're going to review the questions that were sent to us as a result of the RFQ, so nothing since you sent this out, right, Ed?
Not that I've seen.
Okay, great. And the deadline was last Thursday?
Last Thursday, the 14th. yes.
Okay, last Thursday, the 14th. So question number one, do we need to read the questions for public, or is that?
I probably would.
Okay. So, what level of investigation is the design team expected to complete for all of these options? There's potential need for civil, structural, MEP. Who's going to tell me what MEP stands for?
Mechanical, electrical, plumbing.
Mechanical, electrical, plumbing, etc. Evaluations on the front end, and then for cost estimating input on the other end. So we're open to discussion and feedback in response to that question.
In my mind, it's kind of really up to the responder to determine what they need to perform the feasibility study. I would think they would put together a team. So these are just qualifications.
Yes.
But
Yep.
I would think that they would put together a team that they need to complete the study. And if they need civil, which I think they do, structural, I don't know, MEP probably, then structural, yes, they do. Then they would do that, but I don't know, Andrew, what are your thoughts? Do we dictate that they put in the sub-consultants?
Well, I kind of agree with you. I don't think that we necessarily should need to spell it out for them, but regardless, if they're they're doing a new building, they're going to want to probably engage MEP, structural, and civil engineers. And even if they're not, even if they're looking at an existing space, then they would want to engage all of those trades as well. So I'm not quite sure how to answer that, because I think just typically everybody does engage all of those consultants. But I don't think we should, to your point, I don't think we should necessarily dictate who or who they shouldn't engage, I guess.
Right, so they're asking what level of investigation are they expected to complete? In my mind, it's whatever level you think you need in order to perform a adequate, I don't want to use that word, but the feasibility study.
I mean, yes, Ed?
Right, this
Just-
wouldn't be a proposal either, so there wouldn't be pricing tied to this exercise either. So if they think that they can do it all themselves, great. If they think that they have a more accurate representation of engaging other consultants to meet the needs of whatever the feasibility study may need, then I would suggest that they engage those consultants.
Okay, Ed had a question or a comment?
Comment more than anything, and this is just my opinion. The key to this, to me, is that for all of these options.
For all of these options.
I think we're coming back to what's option one or option 1 and 2. So to me, I'm thinking that they might need to engage some of those or all of those for those, shall we say, preferable options, but not all of the options.
Right, yeah, that's what I was thinking. If things were eliminated and they said
Yes.
there's just no way we can do this particular location, then obviously they don't have to do it for all the options.
Yeah, so it's specific to
Site
whatever site.
specific of what
whatever site.
meets,
Right.
they think is viable.
And that's a question
Like
later on.
structural,
Right.
yeah, structural would be, if it was an existing building, then structure would come in
Right.
more into play.
So who wants to take a stab at an answer that we can respond back to? Ed, how do you want to handle this? Do you want us to develop the specific answers? Do you want to?
Yeah, I'd say develop the specific
Okay.
answers and then we'll compile them all yet.
Yep, okay. So language-wise, who wants to take a stab at it?
I can take a stab at that.
Okay, Andrew.
Are we doing it now?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think we need to compose it. When are they due? When are they due back? Next week?
They are due,
Or is it the end of this week?
I thought it was August. Deadline for written question was July 14th. Their deadline for addenda is July 22nd.
Yeah.
So that is,
Friday. Yeah, it's the end of
We should
this
do
week.
that.
Yeah, we should do it now.
We should do it now. Might as well.
Yeah, because we're not going to meet again to approve the language, so.
Right. Right.
Do you want to take a stab now, or do you want to compose something and we'll come back to it and review the stab? Andrew, or what do you suggest?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think just if we go through them, I can make a recommendation on verbiage and then we can all either agree or disagree. Does that make sense?
So make a recommendation at the end of all of them, or one by one?
Yeah, I'll do it at the end of all of them,
Okay. So you have enough
once
information?
we've had a chance to discuss.
Okay. Okay, so we'll return to the language then. So we're pretty much done with one. Andrew will compile some language, we'll vote on it at the end of the meeting. So everybody make sure I don't forget to go back to do that. Okay, question number 2, what if any previous efforts have been conducted to gather public input and when? Excuse me. So I think that, the input that we've had are visits to the various senior centers from the original subcommittee from the COA board. Okay, so we as members of that subcommittee visited a number of senior centers. We've also had discussions at the Council on Aging board meetings and Friends of the Council on Aging. The visits, and we've been, really, the feasibility committee has been the research arm of the project to date, the subcommittee for the COA board and this feasibility committee. So we haven't done any outreach on top of that. Anybody have anything to add to that? I think we just made that decision to do it maybe parallel or during this process.
Right. I mean, I think the quick answer is none.
Well, no, I don't think it's none. I
Yeah.
think by.
I mean, but I mean, to me, I read this as to gather the public input, which is all of Southampton. That's how I read this. Like, have there been any surveys done
Right.
to gather their input?
but I do agree that we need to tell them what we have done and then say no further.
Nothing beyond that. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's quite so cut and dry as no, because we
Okay.
have done some
Because
gathering
there's
of
some
information. I just think that because this is a study to get to the point of getting the money, you know, what is required prior to the study. So, again, I think at this point, we've had discussions with the COA board, the subcommittee from the COA board, the visits to various senior centers in the area, and discussions at Friends meetings, Friends of the Council on Aging, is what research we've done but we haven't expanded it to broader
That
public
answers-
input.
That answers question 3 too.
Question 3, see above.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And again, we can determine whether we want it to run parallel to the feasibility study to gather more public information when we have time to breathe, because our focus has been getting to this point so we can get the feasibility done, so we can get the money. Otherwise, it's kind of a moot point what the public thinks if we don't have the money to do anything, so.
Can I ask Ed a question?
Feel free.
There's 3 questions here on public outreach. Are they all from, can we ask who submitted or how many firms submitted questions? Are they all from the same firm?
They're all from the same firm.
And how many submitted? How many people submitted questions?
How many
I'm
firms?
just wondering how much interest there is in this.
I'd have to go count again, but last
than
time I
one?
looked, it was over 22.
Wow. 22 requests.
Requests.
But how many people have submitted questions as a result of looking at the
I believe I
RFQ?
already answered that question. So
Did I?
the questions came from one firm.
Okay,
Okay, I misunderstood what you said. Okay,
thank you for clarifying, because I didn't think it was clear as well, so.
okay.
Okay, so basically, number 3 is, again, if we plan on hopefully doing something that runs parallel. See question 2. And if we can gather more information during the 6-month period, I think that's our goal.
That sounds like a good plan.
Does anybody have any concerns or suggestions or?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Andrew, anything else on that you want to add?
No, I'm just kind of typing away. I have
Okay.
the bones of a statement, but we can review that later,
Okay.
obviously.
All right, so we more or less answered 1 through 3. Question number 4, does the town want public input opinion on the site locations under consideration, or just on the functions that the new, just on the functions that the new senior center will accommodate? I'm not sure what on the functions.
I think they're
Type
asking,
of programs.
how much will the public have input on the site versus what would be in the potential new building?
Okay, gotcha. So I think this group did a lot of research on determining what sites to explore, right? Certainly we presented it at the select board meeting for public to hear. And we've reached out through the select board to certain sites. But as far as the site locations, I don't know that we'll be getting any additional public input.
I think that's the feasibility study, is to tell us which of the sites that are chosen are the best.
Can you hear that, Andrew? You might want to speak up.
Sorry, I
just a little
didn't hear that.
Sorry, just that to find out for the feasibility study, to give us what sites will work, will not work, and which ones are the best or optimum
Right.
sites
Okay.
from what's already been chosen.
So I would say the town right now isn't looking for input or opinion on the site locations. I think it's our position to make sure we reply to places like the senior center, like the current Old Town Hall, police station, the fire station, to give them an explanation of whether they would or wouldn't be potential sites. And I think that's part of the study. Is that basically, I think, what you're saying, Darcy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we've already kind of narrowed it down.
And then it says, or just the functions that the new center will accommodate. So I mean, again, I think that would be part of the survey, if we decide to do a survey. I mean, some senior centers did a survey, some committees did a survey, some didn't do a survey, an official survey.
We've already kind of defined it, though.
Yeah, we've already defined it in the RFQ based
So what
on research.
So are we looking for the public to verify that or just to provide additional input?
I think both. I mean, we want to engage the public. We, you know, not only just for buy-in, but hey, maybe we did miss something. I mean, there was a lot of groundwork done, but, you know, we need their buy-in.
But we definitely need,
Be at the next stage and not necessarily the feasibility study stage, would that be more of the actual planning stage?
for the building, for a building committee.
Right, once we, yeah.
I don't
once
think
we
you want the
find
survey,
site.
though.
Well, yeah, I think a survey is good. I was surprised that one of the communities didn't have any kind of survey at all.
I think we want to engage the seniors that are now available. This is a project that's 2, 3 years, 4 years down the road. So I think we want to engage the seniors, the voting seniors especially, that are now. So it wouldn't hurt to do it now and then again when the project comes to fruition.
Yeah, and I think it's not just the seniors, but the buy-in of the rest of the
course.
community as well.
Of course.
I think the needs are determined by the senior centers and maybe the seniors from 50 to 60 that will be utilizing this facility down the road too, to make sure we address the needs in the future. So we don't want to build for now, we want to build for the future as well, so.
But to address the initial part of the question, the goal of the feasibility study would be to present the public with one most viable option for a site, right? We wouldn't be asking for public input on which site would be the best, right? Because the whole purpose of doing a feasibility study would be present us with the best site, and then we will do public outreach to decide what goes in the building, right?
Correct, that's, yeah, the functions of the
Okay.
new center, yeah.
Okay.
So I guess, but to your point, Andrew, yeah, the town, we're not really getting any more of their input for the site locations. That's the feasibility study, and for the functions of the new center, we would definitely look for input.
Right,
To make
right,
sure
okay.
we're accurate with our discovery to date, so. Okay. What are the professional liability insurance requirements for this project? Ed, you have a thought on that?
I thought that was in the,
I thought we included,
Well, we included insurance.
I thought we did.
While we're going on, I can look through the RFQ if you'd like me to, or I'll look through it right
I
now.
mean-
It's in an appendix.
oh, yeah, I thought it was an attachment, yeah.
Um,
Okay, you want to move on to the next one while you're looking, or you want
Sure,
to take a
that's
minute
fine.
to look?
Whatever you guys want.
Yeah, why
And
don't
if
we-
not, I can go down and look further. But I thought it was in there.
Yeah, I thought it
There's
was,
a lot of insurance in there,
Yeah.
but.
so what
let's
is
see.
professional liability insurance? Is
It's-
that different than?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
different than automotive other, it's
Right,
for
right.
the designer.
So I'll move on to the next question while
Okay,
you're
sure.
looking, because it's kind of.
Is that a dollar amount there, that's the question?
They're asking
Yeah,
what the
it's a
limit
dollar
of
amount.
insurance,
Right.
liability insurance is.
Dollar amount.
So the RFQ states that one original and 10 copies to be printed and submitted as to try to improve our sustainability efforts. Is it possible for this to be amended to less copies?
How many? I'd like a hard copy.
So
But others
half a
that are
dozen
not
or
does-
something.
Well, we have 7 people on the committee,
I'm electronic.
but will they send it to us electronically too?
Oh, absolutely, they
Yeah.
are required to.
They're
I mean,
required to.
I can do that as well sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we
markup, But
can-
I can do it electronically
Yeah. I mean,
if we
and
want to.
my opinion is, in this day and age, we
Right.
should try to get away from burning
Right.
trees. So,
Ed, your thoughts, because I think was your suggestion to put the to request copies.
You got two different paths here. One, is it, shall we say, transmissible electronically? In other words, is it too big? to
Right, would
send
have probably too big,
through,
yeah.
through email? If it's not, I would probably, if it's not, I'd probably say, you know, one original and maybe one or two hard copies, and then you can disseminate the rest to everybody
They
electronically.
could set up a web page to transmit an electronic document.
We can also,
Yeah, we
I'm
can
sorry,
set up
let me-
one. Go ahead.
We can also ask for them to submit a USB flash drive
I
where we
think
can
we
just
did.
distribute it amongst ourselves.
Yeah,
I
we
think
did,
we
we
did.
did,
I think we
okay.
did.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So you want to reduce that from 10 to 2?
You need the original, like you said.
Right,
Yeah, you want the original, and then it's just a question, do you want
any
one
hard
more hard,
copies.
you know, one more hard copy or two? I probably wouldn't do any less than two.
Okay, it's fine, I think.
Are you- So we want to change that number to, we'll reduce it to 1 original and 2
Copies,
copies.
and then qualify with how many USB drives we would like.
Right.
We're gonna go that way.
And do we say 7 USB drives?
Yeah.
Yep,
Labeled,
sure, yeah.
labeled with
Or
the
8
name.
USB drives.
So I have all these USB drives that don't have names on them,
Right?
sadly.
We have a bucket.
And you
Yeah,
go through
we don't
it-
want to
Go through every one of
write
your-
over it or something, right, accidentally say something to it. Okay, is everybody good with that? So 1 original and 2 copies, 7 USB
Eight.
drives labeled by name of study.
Ed said eight USB,
8, okay,
what Ed
You
said.
got 8 committee members, you know,
don't we, it's 7.
yeah, then leaves 1 extra.
Oh, okay,
if,
okay.
you know,
I'm just wondering if
whether
I've been-
the select board wants to.
Yeah, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Wants
When, I
one
just
or-
want to make sure I just,
Whatever,
Eight of
yeah.
us here.
8 labeled?
Well,
Okay.
it's actually
1,
9
3,
and
4,
7.
5. Oh, yeah, it's 7 and
9.
9, it's 9, you're right, it's 9, it's 7 members and 2, I'm thinking 5 and 2, it's 7 and 2, so. Should we get 9 USB drives then, so everybody,
They're cheap.
yeah,
9 USB labeled.
or do you want 10 USB?
10
so-
one for the select board.
Okay, so 10,
How many committees are gonna be reviewing? It would just be us and then the select board, right?
Is
yes,
the
no more
select
than
board
that.
reviewing
Would
it?
it just make sense to have 2 USBs? One goes to the select board, one goes to us, and then we can upload whatever documents on that Google Drive that we've been using, just so that people aren't sending a manila envelope full of USB drives?
Okay, all right, anybody?
That would be my recommendation, at least. That I don't know if it's all the same to everybody else, but it just seems like 9 flash drives seems a bit excessive.
Ed?
Page
Fine with that.
27 has
You-
the insurance will be, we haven't found that.
Yeah, I don't see
Okay,
professional.
so now we're down to 1 original, 2 copies, and 2 USB drives? Is that what you said?
Yep.
So what
Yeah,
do
that's
we,
what I have for account.
how are we all gonna get the information off the USB? Just hand it around or?
Well, no, I mean, we have a Google Drive, and if for people that
Okay.
We can download it.
we can download from the Google Drive if we
Google
need to,
Drive.
okay.
Darcy and I both looked, backing up to the other question of
Okay.
professional liability.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm jumping
No,
around here.
you're-
There is
no, no.
nothing in the insurance requirements for professional liability. General public liability and property damage liability is listed there, but not professional. So we'll need to find that out.
Okay,
And we'll need to amend, we'll need to do an addenda for this. In addition to answering the questions, we need to actually change this document. So Andrew and I can work on that. It's in the same document as answering questions, but
did everybody get that?
Does anybody ever work with professional liability insurance? You know
I'll take a
what-
look.
our insurer should be, Ed probably has the information, but, I mean, we do, but my company does, but it's something that the town dictates what level of insurance they want. So I don't know what that would be.
Okay, so we'll, again, table that
Mm-hmm.
till Ed comes back up to confirm. All right, under section 7, scope of services, could you please clarify items D and E? Let me just go to 7, we'll read D and E real quick. 6, 7. So D is perform a preliminary assessment of site conditions on 4 potential parcels to determine suitability for the site construction of a senior center. So that's D. E is perform a preliminary assessment of the sustainability of using either town or privately owned existing buildings and/or sites to determine suitability for repurposing or expanding for use as a senior center. Up to 5 locations shall be evaluated as follows, and then it goes through the 5, so. Which are
So that would be right.
the existing senior center, existing fire station and property, old town hall, current police station, and up to 2 additional buildings and/or sites.
I think it's both. Total.
9 total building and sites.
So where does the 9 come from? I'm,
4 sites and 5,
Right.
5 existing buildings, up to 5.
potential parcels. But we may not have, again, it's 4 potential parcels.
But they're saying total, so there's a 9 total.
They were wondering whether it's either or. And I think it's pretty clear, but apparently it's not clear, so.
All right. 4 plus 5 seems to equal 9.
It does sound like a lot for a feasibility study, but some might be very quick. I mean, they're gonna look at it and say, no, 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 or maybe not.
So of the 9, so you look at the first 4 of potential parcels, are they kind of overlap at all with number 4, up to 2 additional buildings and/or sites?
Because we're gonna take, like, if somebody comes back with a letter and says, we're not selling.
Right.
Then those are not,
I don't think they overlap. Those are all
Okay.
vacant, aren't they, Darcy? Or you guys?
well, the properties are
properties are all
vacant, but
vacant.
we don't know for sure
Right.
yet
If
if
they'll
the
sell.
sellers are. or the
But they don't
owners are
overlap
willing
with
to
any of
sell.
the buildings.
Okay, because it says additional buildings and/or sites.
In case something else comes available.
Okay. What's the difference between buildings and sites?
Oh.
That's my question. So
Well,
it said, if we
well,
just said up to 2
building-
additional
Oh, yes,
buildings,
I
that
gotcha.
would be one thing. This says 2 additional buildings and/or sites. So that's,
I believe the select board wanted us to have that wording to not, to keep us open,
right.
and not pigeonhole us into very specific numbers.
Right, so I understand that for buildings, but I guess I'm saying, I see where their question is. So if we have 4 potential parcels, and then 2 additional buildings and/or sites, is that a total of 9? Potentially 9. So if all, how many, we,
Isn't it like up to 2 additional buildings or sites, like
Either
either
or.
or?
Right.
Like it wouldn't be 2 plus 4.
no, I understand that, but is that the
Right.
2 sites the same as the 4 parcels, fall into the 4 parcels? If it's a site, not a building?
No, I think it would be accumulating everything.
Okay. Everybody concur one way or the other?
So it would be a total of how many?
Potentially 4 plus 5, so it could be
Nine total.
potentially up to 9.
Okay.
I mean, that may be a very quick assessment. I think they all have to be assessed, right?
Yeah.
But the 4, and if we got letters back from 4 owners that said, yes, we will talk to them.
Right.
They're not committing to sell property at the moment, but we would be willing to enter into discussion. You could have up to 9.
Yeah. But we know that some of the buildings we have on the list are going to be very quick.
Mhm.
So.
But they have to be there because they're the professionals. We're the, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So to get back to are there 9 total building and sites to be assessed?
Potentially, yes.
And that's what it says in there. I mean, maybe they're looking at $60,000 and 9 sites
Yeah.
and wondering if there's a disconnect.
Well, do we want to clarify that some of them might be obvious, you know? maybe
I don't
not.
think in
No.
here we should skew their
No,
perspective,
that's
you
true.
know, in the
Yeah.
RFQ.
Right. Right.
This isn't even a scope of work for them to be submitting. It's a qualifications package.
Right.
So maybe they're wondering, all right, do I really need that civil engineer to look at this, all of these sites? How much is their effort? You know, I don't know what they're,
And we
what they're
can't
getting
measure
at.
that
Right.
on their behalf
Right.
until each one will require a visit if we get letters back from property owners that say, yes, we're happy to discuss it. Or if we get one or two back that say that, and two that say, no, thank you. So it could be up to 9 total buildings. I mean, so how do we want to answer that question? Andrew, are you drafting something on that question?
A little bit, yeah. Question number 1 sort of informs question 7 as well. Just based on what Libby said, it's pretty much up to the design team to determine what level of investigation is needed. And it's also just a request for qualifications. We don't have to go too in depth, or they don't have to go too in depth. I would at the very least include, well, I guess this is sort of just answering question number 1. I would at the very least include like a team of consultants. As it relates to number 7, you don't have to fully engage all of those consultants depending on the site, but I guess to answer question number 7, yeah, there would be 9 total buildings and sites, right?
Assessed.
Up to 9
Up to
sites and or buildings.
Assessed, because
Right.
number 8 has to do with the conceptual design, so we're only looking for one conceptual design possibly.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I don't know about that.
Right.
Let's stick on 7
Question.
first. But,
Yeah, so the short answer would be,
yes,
I guess, C response number 1, and there will be 9 total buildings / sites to be assessed.
I would, yeah, or
Up
up to
to
9, I
9.
would say up to 9.
Up to 9. Okay.
Now number 8. Under section 7, again, scope of services, item F. F says, develop a conceptual design of a facility that would meet the defined needs, current codes, professional standards for a public facility. So their question is, will there be a conceptual design desired for each option of a facility? Does it say of a facility at each location? It doesn't.
It doesn't. It says a facility. What
A
was our
facility.
intent? This is a good question.
It is
Yeah.
a good question.
Yeah, 'cause the big difference
Will
in
there be a
doing
cons-
just one
or
conceptual
9?
design
Versus
versus
9.
9. Yeah.
Because
Or
using it.
will we narrow
redoing
down
it-
the sites and provide a conceptual option for the one site selected?
9 conceptual designs is gonna be a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
I don't think we
that
need
sounds
that.
foolish,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's
to
a lot
take
of
on.
work and money for what?
I mean, my thought would be on the top
Yeah.
2
Right,
options.
Right.
because you need to do a cost comparison. If
Mhm.
you've selected, say, the existing fire station and
Versus
one
a-
of the Goro property, and the Goro property costs $5 million and the other one costs 2, well,
Mhm.
so I, maybe, I don't know. We
But
wanted
top 2 or
alternative.
something?
That would
We
be nice.
want some
yeah.
kind of alternative.
Yeah, you don't want to just narrow it down to a facility, which is what I guess we kind of said, right? So,
Yeah, I would say probably between existing buildings and sites that would have new construction on them, there should be one design option that we utilize in an existing building and one design option for a new construction site. And that would be narrowed down based on
Yeah.
their preliminary investigations on, as Libby said, like which site is the most suitable for everything based on our
Right.
focus groups or surveys on the needs of the seniors.
so
But
does
that's
this,
just my
does this
recommendation.
require an addenda again then?
Yes, it does. But we also need to answer the question, and
Right.
then we would say, refer to addenda number, blah, 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 which modifies this text. So once Andrew does that, I can come up with the language for the addenda. And we
Okay.
would have to agree on it or meet or whatever before we issue it.
So then one existing site and one
New construction.
new construction? Or how, whatever the
Could we
best,
just say up to 2?
because maybe the two best ones
Yeah,
are,
right.
again, we're gonna narrow them down into having to select
Right.
something that's a current building.
And should we say compare and evaluate up to 2?
That's even better.
Because we want a cost comparison, I think.
And I don't think we would need more than,
You're gonna have to speak up just a little bit,
I
because
wouldn't
I don't wanna
think we
miss
would
you.
need more than 2, because, I mean, there's gonna be small differences on vacant lots depending on the price, but I mean, I think if we get a price on one vacant lot, it should be some, I mean, not to be apples to apples, but
Right.
it gives us an idea versus an existing building.
And again, I think with a 6-month feasibility, there's always a chance that something that would be their number one on the list could go away
Yeah. Right.
somehow. So I guess we don't want to say, yes, you do a design, but unfortunately that's not available anymore. So I guess we don't, and we don't want to pigeonhole them into, I think, one current building and one potential site. So what does everybody think?
That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, because something could evaporate.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Andrew, let us know when you're ready to read and we can do 8 roll call votes, excepting we can just do 1 roll call vote at the end.
Are we allowed to ask who submitted the questions?
You can ask Ed.
I'm curious.
Okay, I'm just polishing up the last response right now, just a
Okay.
couple minutes.
That sounds promising, though, that we had 22.
Take it out.
Awesome.
That's, yeah.
Well,
And
our company took it out, just because we automatically do.
Thank you.
Then declined.
Yeah, so I mean, they may have asked for them, but they may not, we
Right,
may not get
but
that many
still.
responses. But if you start with that good number, then you know
Right.
you're gonna end up,
And there's one firm interested, definitely.
yes. I wonder who that could be. Okay. So while Andrew's wrapping up, I don't think there's anything else that we want to discuss outside of this. They can't wait till the next meeting. Or are we good?
When were the RFQs coming in again?
I'm looking.
I think August 8th?
August 4th.
August 4th.
And then we're meeting, so
The
we're
18th,
getting,
yeah.
right, so, and Ed, on your minutes, you had Ed was coming up with a scoring sheet.
Yes.
So we may want to discuss that when he comes back in the room.
Yes.
So August 4th is a Friday?
Yeah. I
Yes?
think so.
It's Thursday,
Thursday.
my son's birthday.
Okay.
I got that day marked
I
out.
was gonna say, you didn't even look at your phone for that.
Oh, that was a quick one for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, it's the 4th.
And then, so this addenda's due Friday, so,
Hard to
yeah.
believe.
No.
And what's the process?
23.
Go ahead, Audrey.
Dan, who just went on
What's the process for now answering these and doing the addenda and resubmitting?
that. Or that gets posted, actually, I don't know what the process is,
Soon
but
as
we
that
have to
comes.
come up with it, develop the addenda, and issue it in whatever format Ed tells us by Friday, because that's the deadline here. And then if they don't have any further questions, they might, even though the deadline's passed, they might have more questions based on our answers, but. And then they submit the package August 4th.
So,
Okay, I think I have at least a decent start here. Okay, everyone ready?
yes.
All right, so for item number 1, what level of investigation is the design team expected to complete for all of these options? There's potential for civil, structural, MEP, et cetera, evaluations on the front end, and then for cost estimating input on the other end. What I have is It is the committee's recommendation to engage as many or as few consultants as needed to complete the study. It is up to each design team to determine consultant engagement required for each site on a case-by-case basis.
Any comments from the group? Do we have a motion to accept?
Can you read that again?
You want to do it one more time?
Yeah, just
Andrew?
your answer.
It is the committee's recommendation to engage as many or as few consultants as needed to complete the study. It is up to each design team to determine consultant engagement required for each site on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Should we say sub-consultant? Or, I guess it's implied. I guess we don't need to dictate that. Because they're talking about subs, aren't they? But
Yeah,
that's fine, I'm fine with the answer.
Okay.
So do we have a motion to accept number one?
I make a motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Darcy, 1, Audrey, 2. Roll call vote. We have to roll call vote. Ed, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go Andrew,
Aye.
Libby,
Yes.
Audrey,
Aye.
Darcy,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Janet, I. Okay, so approved.
Do you want to share with Ed, just, he doesn't vote, but does you want to share what the answer was, just so he had, or does it matter? Did you want
Ask
to know
Ed
what?
if he needs to hear the answer. For number 1.
I'm gonna see him because I'm gonna have to send
I
him out,
figured,
so.
okay, we already voted on it, so
Right,
it's
I'm
too
fine
late
with
to
that.
discuss at this point. But Joan's always looking out for Ed's best interest, right? So number 2.
Actually, you know what? I will share my screen so we can all see
Okay,
it.
I don't know
why
that-
didn't click earlier.
Yeah, I don't know that everybody can see your screen unless you're in 36-point font or something, or 60-point, or, because they're spread out pretty far,
Okay, forget about that then.
unless you think
This
it's
is definitely
viable.
not 36-point font.
Okay,
All right, number 2. What, if any, previous efforts have been conducted to gather public input and when? And the response is, we have received input from various council on aging committees. However, there have been no further public outreach to this point. Any programmatic or site studies have been preliminary. The goal of the feasibility study would be for the design team to help conduct public meetings and or surveys for the citizens of the town in order to generate and further define potential project parameters.
can you read
I
that
know
last
that's-
sentence again?
I know that's very wordy. I can send this around. I can
No,
send
no,
this
no.
back
Can you email a copy?
email if that's
I mean,
better.
We're not gonna be able to modify it after today, so we have
Right,
to
we wanna
decide
vote today.
now.
Yeah.
So,
Can he email it now, though?
can you email that document to everybody now?
I actually thought
Yeah,
that
it's-
sounded good.
It's
I
just
know.
in response to Ed's email. I have the text in red.
Okay. So yeah, I was just gonna look at the last sentence again, sorry. Of course. It takes 2 days for anything to come into town hall, that's the only problem.
But just recite the last sentence if you would, Andrew, please.
Sure. The goal of the feasibility study would be for the design team to help conduct public meetings and or surveys for the citizens of the town in order to generate and further define potential project parameters.
So we're asking the selected design firm to help with the studies,
To help with
Focus.
surveys, right?
the surveys, and the
conduct
focus groups.
It says that.
public meetings,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, good, good.
They did say, the question did say, and when? When were the prior efforts conducted? Should we say in your first sentence, when the coordination with the Council on Aging
I mean,
occurred?
we worked on various
October of
vice
20.
site visits, we probably did the site visits late 2021 through March of 2022 with the site visits.
Okay.
And I would say that, and then final input from the COA board was in May of '22.
Has the email come through to anybody yet?
Can you repeat that final Final approval, what was it from the COA?
No, it wasn't final input from the Council on Aging Board was conducted in April and May of '22.
I can't, I'm not logged on here.
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't come through. So, it was a good idea.
Yeah, I didn't get it, and it's, I'm not.
Oh, I haven't sent it yet. I thought we were still
Wait,
I thought we were still discussing. I'm sorry
we
about
are,
that.
that's good. So let's get the final one and then,
Okay. Just sent.
Okay, and I think we're good with 1 and 2. Okay, number 3.
I have a question
Oh,
on two, please.
go ahead,
yeah, what did
sorry.
you just, I want to look and read what he just.
Yeah.
Okay.
On,
All right.
on two, in the actual RFQ, do we indicate what form we want the public information gathering to be? Because now we're saying through meetings and surveys. I mean, if we've already said that, that's fine, but I didn't know if we wanted to keep it more open. I'm not sure what other format there is, but.
Under 7C, it says conduct outreach/workshops to receive input from residents on specific needs and interests.
Right, so I'm not sure we want to just say meetings and surveys. Because it may be some other methodology that a firm might
They would
have
use.
available to
Like a
them.
focus group or something like that?
It could be anything.
Right.
Yeah, so keep it as outreach and workshops.
Yep.
And not define it. too
Partially
specific.
answered in question number 4, so that answer might need to change.
Okay.
I just got it.
I think focus groups are so much better than surveys. I mean, if you're at the mercy if they're gonna fill them out, so.
Well, we've had some great survey results in a couple projects that we've had in town too, so.
Depends on who's, yeah, if you're
Well,
pushing it and saying.
Yeah.
And I think one of the discussions we've had months ago was to do multiple methods.
Right, so we reach
Right,
different people.
Right.
Libby, if you want it larger.
I have it.
Okay, got it.
Survey's definitely the easiest, probably.
It's
Yeah,
in red.
focus group is not easy.
But it's,
I had trouble.
yeah, it may not be, there are other options, so.
Right.
Okay, has everybody looked at 1 and 2? And we've approved 1, we haven't approved 2 yet.
Hang on.
I know that there are typos. I apologize.
I was gonna say.
Just ignore those for now. I'm already fixing them.
So I think
This is-
instead of Council on Aging committees, so there's the Council on Aging Advisory Board, and then there's the Friends of the Council on Aging. Those are not, one is a fundraising arm that's made up of seniors, and one is an advisory board that's appointed by the select board. So it's probably not good to just
Right.
merge them as committees. So
I
one
agree.
should be specific to Council on Aging Advisory Board and the Friends of the Southampton Council on Aging. I know it's
Okay.
enough.
Already changed it.
Okay,
Good,
thank you.
good, yeah.
So Andrew, you said any
bring your
programmatic
phone?
or site
Did you
studies
bring your phone?
have been preliminary?
No.
Should-
Yes.
You want to
I'm
look at it?
sorry.
Oh, okay, if you want to look at it too.
Do we want
I
to
don't
say
know if it'll come to
studies?
me.
Did we do a study?
You're on the list.
'Cause
Or
I
site
don't-
visits?
I don't have
No,
the
or
COA
site,
director on here.
Yeah, study shouldn't be in the response.
any programmatic or site
But you
studies
come
have
into
been
your email,
preliminary
so you
during
can't
late
get into your
2020,
email.
2021
Should that
or
be-
March.
Should that be evaluations instead of studies?
Site choices.
Investigations, anything but study, because that's what we're asking for.
That's what they're doing, yes.
Elections?
Yeah.
Are we talking about the site selection?
Selection.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where was that was that number 2?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So then number 3 is them asking us what our preferences
What has been
and what has been successful.
successful, so we didn't really answer that in
Right,
number 2.
right.
Thought we did, but we didn't.
We didn't really answer it in number 2. So the methodology, I mean, I think public forum and surveys have been somewhat successful on other subjects, right? So, depends on the public forum and it depends on, you know,
Topic.
yeah,
Yeah.
whether people show up or not.
Demographic element.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what did they do for the building committee for this building, do you know?
They didn't do anything. Because it was already decided to use this building. and they
Oh,
hired
okay,
an
oh,
architect.
that was when this was built, that's right,
If this
okay.
was already built.
So,
It
but
was
there
a school.
right,
you know,
right.
it's abandoned
So
building.
this was already decided upon without surveys, without, okay,
Yes.
all right. So what do we want to say for 3? Surveys and public forums have been successful? I don't know. I don't want to, but open to, you know,
I changed it to be public forums and surveys have been successful in the past. The committee is open to other means and methods to collect meaningful public data and responses. Basically just kind of punting and leaving it up to the design team to say, you can use these, but if you have better methods, then by all means, feel free.
and I think that they have to be involved in previous senior centers, so they should have methods that have worked in their history, right? That have been successful that, so,
Right.
do we have a motion for 2 and 3 then?
I make a motion for accepting answers for 2 and 3. Responses.
Okay, Audrey, then
I second that.
second Darcy. All in favor, Andrew,
Yes.
Libby,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Janet, yes. Okay, great. Okay, moving to number 4. You want to read your answer, or we can, the town currently is not looking for further input on which potential building site would be the best option. The goal of the feasibility study is to present the public with one suggested site, and the design team would help this committee engage the public for programmatic needs and expectation through surveys and engagement with the general public and a focused senior population. How does everybody, any tweaks?
So the goal is to present one, they're evaluating doing a preliminary design on 2, but the goal is to present 1 to the public. Or do they, I guess,
One suggested site?
right. But are they doing the survey ahead of time? Is that will the survey impact if they did a survey, would it impact their decision? I mean, their study?
Right, because we want it based on facts and not on public opinion for the site, right? We want it based on.
Yeah, we're
what
not
site-
asking, we're saying we're not looking for input on building sites.
Yeah, okay, right.
Right, on number 4?
Yeah. Okay.
With one suggested site at the end. Do we want to say one or 2 recommendations?
Up to 2? Consistently, I
Yeah.
think up to 2 sounds great.
So up to 2 sites, Andrew, for number 4?
Yeah, I realized as soon as you read that even the first sentence sounded a little contradicting, so I'm rewriting this.
Okay.
All right, so what I have now, the first sentence was a little bit confusing from what I wrote. So what I have now is the town currently is not looking for broader public input on which potential building site would be the best option. I think that probably sounds better, right?
Okay.
The goal of the feasibility study is to present the public with one suggested existing building and one new construction site.
I think we said up to 2 sites. We didn't want to pigeonhole them into the one. They may look at the building and say none of these. And so then
Okay.
I think we're going to keep it up to 2 options or sites. And that
Up to
asks
2
them 1 and 1.
potential sites.
Yeah.
And then the last sentence would stay the same. The design team would help this committee engage the public for programmatic needs and expectations through surveys and engagement with the general public and a focused senior population.
Okay.
Do you want to keep in the word surveys? Because we previously just said, what did we say? Outreach,
Outreach.
public outreach.
If we want to make it more broad, through public outreach and engagement, or is that the same thing? Or just say through engagement with the general public and a focused senior population, and take out the word surveys and?
Yeah, because that leaves it nice and generic.
Yeah. So let me know,
Okay.
Andrew, when you're ready for the final to vote on.
Okay, do you want me to reread the response?
Yes, please.
The town currently is not looking for broader public input on which potential building site would be the best option. The goal of the feasibility study is to present the public with up to 2 potential sites. The design team would help this committee engage the public. Okay, hold on, I need to change this last sentence because this is getting really wordy. It's that Hampshire Regional Education.
My daughter yells at me for that all the time.
Had engagement in there like 3 times. All right, the last sentence would be, the design team would help this committee engage the public for programmatic needs and expectations through public outreach.
Okay,
Yeah, that's good.
that's good, yep. Your English teacher would be proud.
I sure hope so.
Okay, did we vote on, so let's vote on 4. Andrew,
Yes.
Libby,
Yes.
Audrey,
Yes.
Darcy,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Janet, yes. Okay, number 5, we're just gonna add an addendum for the professional liability insurance, Ed.
Yeah, I didn't find anything in any of ours on professional liability, so I emailed our insurance carrier and our town council
Okay.
for a recommended amount.
There's text in all, relating to all the insurance, there's a paragraph about each type of insurance, about what's required, so hopefully they provide that. Otherwise, we'll just say professional liability
That would
insurance
just say
is,
professional.
yeah,
Yeah, in
is
addition,
$1 million
professional
or
liability
whatever it
insurance
is.
should be, yeah.
okay.
Okay, so number 5 is just gonna be an addendum, so nothing for us to vote on. Number 6, the RFQ states that 1 original and 10 copies to be printed and submitted as we try to improve our sustainability efforts. Is it possible for this to be amended to less copies? So what we have in hand is, for sustainability purposes, we reduce the requirement to 1 original printed, 2 copies printed, and 2 USB drives containing a single combined PDF of the submitted prints.
We want them labeled.
Labeled.
What do you mean prints? Submitted prints, what's that mean?
So responses instead of prints? Can we change prints to responses, Andrew?
Yeah, I included prints just so that if
Oh, drawings.
they submitted a PDF that was not reflective of whatever is printed in the original copies, then a lot of times, like the RFQ response committee will just have the response be invalid because they're differing materials.
So should it say, do you mean of the submitted printed out hard copy information?
Yes.
Okay.
So you want to change
I
that?
thought you were talking about large scale drawings.
Okay. So how do you want to change that then to what you,
Single,
to clarify?
what do we mean combined PDF?
1 document instead of multiples?
Yeah, that's
Right.
easier to
Okay.
read.
In case they get
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
material from consultants instead of having
Yes.
4 or 5 different PDFs out of order.
That makes sense. So we're gonna change it to a single combined PDF of the submitted
Original.
original or printed hard copy? Yeah, I don't know if I'm the only one who's confused by that.
Yeah, I think if we do submitted original of printed copy, or printed,
Material,
yeah,
even,
yeah,
yeah.
original.
And labeled in there.
So responses doesn't capture that, it has to be, because that may just be the responses, not the backup docs. So what's the final change? Andrew, did you capture and compile?
I have, there was somebody said something about labeling in there.
Yes, 2 labeled USB drives.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, for sustainability purposes, we can reduce the requirements to 1 original printed, 2 copies printed, and 2 labeled USB drives containing a single combined PDF of the submitted printed material.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept.
Audrey,
I
second.
second it.
Darcy, all in favor, Andrew?
Yes.
Libby?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Janet, yes. Okay, thank you. Phew. Number 7.
I don't have a response.
I saw that. Are there 9 total
It's your response.
Oh,
is
yeah,
in
no,
there.
sorry, I do have a response.
do,
There will be
it's
a
just
9
up to 9?
buildings
Oh, it's
/
not
sites to be
red,
assessed.
okay. There will be up to 9 buildings / sites to be assessed, okay. Do we need to say on various, no, we don't need to complicate it any more than that, right? So, is that good with everybody?
Yeah, make a motion
Oh.
to accept.
Darcy, motion.
Second.
Audrey. Okay, all in favor, Andrew?
Yes.
Libby?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Janet, yes, thank you. All right, number 8. Under section 7, scope of services, item F, will there be a conceptual design required for each potential option, total of 9 conceptual designs, based on a description in items D and E, or will we narrow down the sites and provide a conceptual option for the one site selected? Andrew, do you want to read your answer?
Conceptual designs would include sites narrowed down from the list in section 7, items D and E. There should be a minimum of 2 conceptual designs, 1 design for an existing building and 1 design for new construction. But it sounds like we're changing that, right?
I would
Yes.
just leave it.
Just a minimum of 2 conceptual designs?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You.
I think we want to say that they should compare and evaluate them. I don't want them just to give us 2 designs without telling us which one they think is.
Cost comparison is what you said earlier.
Yeah, cost and other feature comparison. So can we change it to something like, the designer should compare and evaluate up to 2, a minimum of 2 conceptual designs?
Okay. That is exactly what I wrote.
Just for the record, you want to read it again, Andrew?
Yep, just about to.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, there was one thing here. Sorry, I just want to change something.
Oh, wow. We needed it.
Just not all at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a pretty serious.
So the last sentence would be, the awarded design team should develop and compare a minimum of 2 conceptual designs.
You have a
Do we
motion?
want to add at the tail end of that, the awarded design team should develop and compare a minimum of 2 conceptual designs for different sites or something like that? Do we want to,
For their top 2 sites, or
yeah,
something like
How about
that?
just add in comparison of same onto the conceptual design
In comparison of same?
sentence? would that cover
So is it a
everything?
minimum or is it up to?
Yeah. It's up to-
Minimum means back to 9.
So, yeah, it would be,
For as I'm
up
concerned.
to, I think, because that's what we've said in the other paragraphs.
Say up to 2 instead of a minimum of 2?
Right, up to 2.
I was thinking the same.
Okay, yeah, not a minimum, 2,
Yeah.
up to 2.
Yeah, because maybe there really is only one.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah, exactly.
Right,
We don't want to
Let me
force a
find
company
2.
to do 2
Yes, let me
if
see
there's
where the
really.
second one is.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Did you get that, Andrew? Instead of a minimum of 2, up to 2 for consistency? Okay.
So there's no comparison if they only find one that is viable.
We could add, if there's more than one, that a comparison be done, be presented as well.
Yeah, 'cause
Well, we want to encourage a minimum, up to 2. I don't know. Well, let's read your sentence, Andrew, and then we'll,
Conceptual designs would include sites narrowed down from the list in section 7, items D and E. The awarded design team should develop and compare up to 2 conceptual designs.
I mean, they can always, even if you found that the old town hall, I'm just looking here, wasn't very good, you could still compare it.
Yeah.
Because that was,
I mean, I
good,
think
and
the,
it
I
would
think
be-
the point of the existing buildings versus developing raw land is that people are gonna want, they're gonna ask that question, well, did you look at
Yeah.
existing buildings? Did
Right.
you look at raw land? So when you compare the two, now you have something to go with. If you don't consider existing buildings, it might be a harder concept to sell.
I mean, we have requested feedback on like the 4 buildings, right? Even if this isn't viable,
Right.
right?
If you wanna play devil's advocate, you gotta have to cover that question.
Yeah, we have to, yeah. Okay, any
So-
other, go ahead, Andrew.
Something in this response kind of makes me feel like it's even more open to interpretation based on the question. Like, if we have up to 2 conceptual designs, how is that per site? So is that, they could also ask a follow-up question of, well, if we are choosing 2 sites, is that 2 conceptual designs per site? Is that 2 total?
oh,
They can't ask any
I-
further questions.
I feel like-
Past the deadline.
I feel like we should include 2 conceptual designs for up to 2 selected sites for a total of,
up
for a
to,
maximum of 4 conceptual designs.
4.
2 sites, 2 designs for each site?
That's kind of what my gut is telling me, just so that we don't have a follow-up question to this, because I feel like
We
it's
can't-
very open to
We can't,
interpretation.
Ed is saying we can't have
A
any more
follow-up
follow. The questions were due last week, and there's no more questions.
So,
Okay.
There's not questions
But
after
we
questions.
want to be clear in our.
Well, we want to
answer.
be clear in our answer, that's, yes.
so we
Right.
want 2, up to 2
Total.
of the sites and/or building. You're concerned that they're thinking we might want 2 sites, 2 buildings?
Right. Because we stated before that there would be up to 2 sites.
I see what you're saying.
So could you say your recommendation again?
It would read something like, the awarded design team should develop and compare 2 conceptual designs for up to 2 sites,
Sites and
for up to 2
properties.
recommended sites, for a maximum of 4 conceptual designs.
I don't think we want 4, do we?
Yeah, because
That's
then
a-
we'd have to change all the other, and I think it's
That's a lot to ask for the price. I
where
think
we've done up
2
to 2
total.
Okay.
in the past.
Yeah.
Well, then we should have 1 conceptual design for up to 2 sites.
I see what you're saying.
But then how would we compare if there is an existing building and a vacant lot? How could one work with both?
Have to be a different design.
Well, we could go back to being specific. I mean, Ron brings up a very good point where, maybe we do want to have a concept for whatever the top existing building is and the top parcel of land. I mean, we could revisit that.
Well, we definitely need to know why something doesn't reach the top, right? Top 1 or 2. So is that requested, even though we don't need to have a design but we do need to know why things have been checked off as not?
I think it's part of the study.
It's part of the study, right?
Yeah,
So,
I think we can define that later. I
Yeah.
think just setting expectations, they should know how many potential conceptual designs they're doing included in their
Right.
fee.
I
okay.
mean, it still isn't up to 2. You think that it's confusing? I think if you said up to 2 designs for potential sites and or buildings, and not say and buildings. I think it's a total. I think
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need we need
Because.
the
Not
top 2
4.
regardless, so we don't need 4.
Out the other ones, they're gonna tell us, like, this lot was, or this parcel wasn't big enough, didn't meet criteria. So we don't need a design.
Right.
To be able to tell people, well, this is
Yeah, those are gonna be
why.
eliminated, so
Right.
what are the
These
top
were
2?
eliminated because, blah, blah, blah.
So do we want it just the top 2? Do we want the top 2 and rather than up to the top 2?
I
Do we
would
want-
think if we just left it, that they had to do 2, because the firm we pick will have a discussion on what our expectations are further. So right now, they're just basically trying to figure in their time
Mhm,
and
mhm.
effort. So if we leave it vague as 2 designs, then we can decide later.
Yeah, more specific. We definitely, I think.
Which
would
is
be-
what you said originally, there should be a minimum of 2 conceptual designs. And then you
Instead of-
said 1 design for an existing building, 1 design for a new construction. Maybe we just eliminate that last.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the conceptual design would include sites narrowed down from the list in section 7. There should be a minimum of
Or-
2 conceptual
Or
designs.
the designer should compare and evaluate a minimum of 2 design, you're not comparing a design.
It's
To
cost
location.
comparison.
You typing away there, Andrew? You're making these edits.
I think
that
he's
don't make any
thinking,
sense.
I think he's thinking.
My brain is broken right now.
Okay. So we
I'm
want
just
to.
trying, the more I think about this, the more I think that I may have been overthinking it. If we just have up to 2 conceptual designs, then we can define this all later.
Do we want
I think
a minimum or
I
do
think
we
I
want it
just-
up to?
Up to 2 conceptual designs
Okay.
with a recommendation for, with a comparison of the alternatives, of the designs, something like that. I don't
Okay.
want them to just say, here are 2.
Here are
We
2,
want
but
them
go
to tell
for
us
it,
which
yeah.
ones, that's really what you want from the study.
pros and
which ones-
cons.
Right.
Right. All right, the final statement reads, conceptual designs would include sites narrowed down from the list in section 7, items D and E. The awarded design team should develop and compare up to 2 conceptual designs and provide their recommendation.
We have a motion?
Do I make a motion to accept
Okay,
that?
Audrey, yes.
Second.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna let Libby second that one, okay? All in favor, Andrew?
Yes, after I dug myself into a big circular hole mentally.
Libby?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Darcy?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Janet, yes. Okay, great. All right, so, and then, so we don't need an addendum for that then? Because we talked about having an addendum
This is
for
all
one
gonna be an
existing.
addendum.
Yeah,
Okay,
it is an
okay.
addendum.
Right,
and
right, but I mean a separate,
It's not a separate, you just have to modify the
Okay.
scope, and I think we do need to modify that text. Because the contract is not based on the addendum. Well, it's included in there, but you want to have the right contract language in the RFP.
Yeah,
so do we
do
have
the
it?
addendum.
The other thing I have to look at is, did we put, and, because I don't remember, did we put anything in there asking them to acknowledge the addenda?
We could, yeah, I don't know if we did.
If we didn't, it's,
We add it, or we put it on the agenda.
it's actually gonna be a separate sheet that they can sign.
Do you have an addenda form that you use?
Yes, I do.
Could you email it to me?
I could, that's
Would-
a physical
would you?
possibility.
Would you please?
You're learning, you're learning.
I've been
Thank
trying
you.
for 3 years, I haven't figured that out. I don't use the could word with Ed anymore. Okay, good, so we're good to go on the answers to these questions proposed to us. Okay.
It's not a violation if I resend these out based on the updated text, right?
No,
To the
it's only a
group?
violation
Okay.
if you talk about them
That
again.
we can't
That's
respond to
right.
them,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
you
it's-
can
it's
send them
sending
out
out
to-
as information.
Yes,
Okay.
we just won't have any emails discussing them any further.
That's right.
Then I have a question.
Okay.
So when we prepare the addenda, Andrew and I work on it together?
Yeah, I would have you and Andrew and Ed work
Ed
on it
work
like
on
you
it.
did with the RFQ,
And then
and
we'll send
we'll-
it,
we'll,
I will send it.
then
You'll
Ed will
send
send it, yeah. You can send out the final agreed one and to us, and we won't discuss it on email, and then Ed will forward it to the
okay.
proper firms, okay? Yeah, it's good to send information, it's just not good to discuss it. Okay?
So, just clarifying in my own head, that means all firms will get copies of all these answers.
That's correct.
Good. Okay.
Okay? So the other, any other issues that can't not wait to our next meeting? So one is the scoring sheet, Ed, that'll be ready prior to our next meeting and the result, because the contracts are in on the, or the responses are in on the 4th of August.
Yep.
And we're meeting on the 18th, and we're going to try to individually evaluate prior to the 18th
Correct.
and score. So we'll have something from you, what kind of time frame?
Probably about, what should be a week before that,
Before what?
the 4th.
Oh, okay, the scoring sheet before the 4th, okay. All right. So that would be next week.
So that's
Summer's going too
based
fast.
on, I don't know how to, so it's based on the,
It's based on the criteria that's
In
in the
here.
RFQ.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? I can't wait till the next meeting? All right. So the other thing is, our next meeting is for 8/18. It can either be live, or now that we have approval, via Zoom. Does the group have a preference?
Zoom is easier.
We're good with Zoom? Okay, so I'll schedule it via Zoom,
and that's August 18th.
August 18th, at 12:30. Back to Thursday. Okay.
So we got approval to do it on Zoom?
Yeah,
So
it got,
we
it
didn't-
got passed
Okay.
Sunday night while we were sleeping.
It was either Saturday or Sunday, but it's a
One of those,
weekend
but it's
anyway,
approved,
so
yeah.
the days don't count.
We
Yeah.
just didn't, it wasn't by Thursday, so we just
Right.
couldn't change this meeting to Zoom.
Who
so.
makes that decision? I'm just
The
curious.
legislature
Oh,
presents to
okay.
the governor,
It's
the
not a
governor
town. Oh.
signs off, and then
How long is
Interesting.
the extension, do you know?
March
March
31st.
31st,
wow.
2023.
Wow.
Well,
And
it was
then
nice to
stand
meet
by.
everybody in
Yeah.
person.
It was, I have to say.
So, should we have a motion to adjourn at 1:51?
Make a motion?
Darcy, motion.
I second.
Audrey, second. All in favor, Andrew,
Yes.
Libby,
Hi.
Audrey,
Aye.
Darcy,
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Janet, yes, okay, great. All right, thanks, Andrew, for joining us
Thank you, Andrew, for all the
remotely.
work.
All right.
And
And
Thank
doing
you
the
all.
work.
doing it and typing it in, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, doing all the
Great.
work.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
I will turn off the recording.